It's no secret that Guild Wars 1 is almost 14 years old at this point. Most of us have done everything imaginable in the game many times over, and there's only a small team of 2 devs maintaining it. But it's clear that there's still a strong interest in the game. I mean, just look at the recent surge in popularity of things like old school RuneScape and classic WoW. So if you're like me and you can't let go of a dead game that's older than today's high schoolers, or if you're someone who's nostalgic and you've been looking for an excuse to start up the game again, let me introduce you to Guild Wars Ironman mode. Now, if you're familiar with old school RuneScape, this will sound familiar, because that's where this idea was stolen, inspired from. I was originally going to do this on my own as sort of like a fun little side project, but as I was talking through the idea with some of my guildmates, there was a lot of hype generating around the idea of an Ironman playthrough. So I decided to share the rule set with you guys if you're interested in following along and doing your own playthrough, because, I don't know, I think it's a really good idea, and I'm really excited about it. Basically what Ironman mode is, it's a new way to play through Guild Wars with certain restrictions in place on your character to make the game a little more interesting and to breathe life into some obsolete areas of the game that were once really exciting but no one really does anymore. This late in the game, so many people are like unfathomably rich, and there's so many builds out there that have power crept the game to heck. It's not uncommon for somebody to go from character creation to max level with best in slot gear and heroes in like an hour of playtime. Ironman mode changes that. The main philosophy of an Iron Man character is that you must complete the campaigns in chronological order without any account unlocks, transferred items, or trading. So basically what this does is it kind of emulates a fresh playthrough of the game as the campaigns were coming out back in the day, and it puts emphasis back on some of the things that made us all fall in love with the game in the first place. Sorry, that sounds really cheesy, but you know what I mean. Essentially, all of your gear, your skills, your achievements are completely self-sufficient without any outside help. Now, obviously, this is going to be an unofficial way to play the game, so it requires a level of discipline to keep it fun. Now, if you decide to try this out yourself and you run into something that we didn't consider when we were making the rules here, let's just try and think if it goes against the philosophy of chronological, self-sufficient progression. If you're taking advantage of someone else's achievement, including other characters on your account, by the way, it should not be allowed. So there are going to be a couple of different tiers of Iron Man based on how hard you want to go with this thing, starting with the basic one, which is the one I'm going to be doing for my playthrough. The first rule is no player-to-player trading. Now this includes drop trading or any other little weird tricks you guys can come up with. Every weapon or item that you get has to be something that you earned yourself, whether you get it as a drop, you got it from a vendor, or a collector. So essentially this means that every item that you get on this character cannot come from any other character in the game. It has to be something that you earned yourself. The next rule is no bank or material storage. This is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, you can't transfer items that you earned on your other characters onto your Iron Man character. That kind of defeats the purpose. You need to play through all of the campaigns in release order, going from prophecies to factions to nightfall. The skill balance of mobs in the various campaigns are obviously set around the skills that were out at the time, so this will help eliminate any power creep from going out of order in the campaign. So the next rule takes this one step further, saying that you can only use skills after you unlock them yourself. You can only get the skills from skill trainers and from skill quests. Some of the skill vendors offer unlocked account skills far earlier than they were originally offered on a vanilla playthrough of the game, so if you see the word unlocked in parentheses next to a skill at a skill trainer, you can't buy that one. And then also that obviously means no skill tomes. Okay, so sort of a side tangent about Eye of the North, which is often regarded as like the biggest power creep the game has ever seen. One of the biggest reasons for that is because of the consumables that came with it. So for this, there are going to be no consumables, no pecans, no summoning stones, nothing like that. Basically, any item that you double click in your inventory and it gives you some sort of buff, you can't use that. My original idea for this was going to be you're not allowed to party with anyone ever, but because there's so much interest in other people doing Iron Man playthroughs, the rule is going to be you can only party with other people doing the Iron Man challenge, and the way you're going to identify yourself is by putting Iron in your character name. So if you want to do this, just put Iron somewhere in your character name. You can come up with some funny joke or whatever if you want. And this essentially prevents somebody with like a busted build and max gear carrying you through a mission in like early game prophecies, just so that we're on the same page and it sort of simulates playing through the game with other people as the games originally were coming out. But if you're some kind of purist and you want to keep the playthrough completely clean, then you can't party with anyone ever at all. But that's up to you, really. I'm personally okay with making this exception to the rule just because playing this game with people is like 1,000 times better, and I think you'll probably agree with me on that one. Next rule is no mercenary heroes. Obviously, having a level 20 hero right out of the gate kinda breaks the point of this playthrough. Also, no / bonus items. If you have that upgrade to your account, you can't use it. And then finally, if you're going to be playing a ranger, primary, or secondary, you can't use the Zaishin Menagerie to get your pet. You have to charm your pet out in the wild, the old-fashioned way. And then if you want to step it up even more, once again, stealing this from old school RuneScape, there is the Hardcore Iron Man, which has all of the Iron Man restrictions, but if you die, you have to delete your character. It's permadeath. And then the next step up is going to be Ultimate Iron Man, which has all of the regular Iron Man restrictions, excluding Hardcore, except you can't use the material or the rare material trader, you can't use the rune trader, and you can't craft weapons from the weaponsmith. Now that kind of sounds like a small thing, but that actually adds a huge layer of difficulty to this challenge, because that means that every material that you get for armor you have to gather yourself by salvaging stuff. And this also means that any stat upgrades you apply through runes have to be salvaged off of drops as well. And then finally what that does is it makes the only source of perfect max stat weapons from either a drop or from completing the game. Now, Ultimate is definitely a lot more RNG, like drop heavy, so if you're into the whole like progression idea or like the gear grind in games like Diablo or something, then maybe Ultimate is for you, but I personally ain't about that, homie. Alright, and then finally, if you're absolutely crazy, what you can do is combine all of the rules I just mentioned into one for the Hardcore Ultimate Iron Man. Alright, if somebody out there gets full obby armor on a Hardcore Ultimate, I will give them 1 million V-Spears. Not really, but I'll respect you. So in the little bit I've played of my Iron Man character, I've been having a blast, man. It takes little things that you don't really think about and makes them super enjoyable. Like every little weapon drop that you get is suddenly this really exciting thing because it might be a gear upgrade to what you're using. It takes useless things like collectors and actually makes them super important. You have to worry about your inventory space. You have to worry about resource management. Things like skill quests are really important to do. Usually you just ignore those. So these little things that you never really thought about before suddenly become very important details that you need to plan ahead on. So as I start to play my Iron Man character, I have a couple of basic goals I've set out for myself. Mainly, complete all the campaigns, acquire best in slot gear for my character, and get a meta build. And then if I'm starting to really enjoy the challenge, some of my longer term goals will be things like elite armor, completing hard mode endgame content like DOA or UW, and maybe maxing some titles. And then maybe obby armor, but that's like super hard, especially if you're going to decide to go ultimate. That means you have to gather all the ectos and shards as drops yourself. So that's like really tricky. And then finally, my super unrealistic pipe dream goal that's never going to happen, but I'm going to say it anyways, is make this game mode so popular that it breathes new life into the game and builds the player base back up to like a full population. So then the devs are forced to make this an official game mode. I know it's never going to happen, but I don't know. You never know. That's how it happened in old school RuneScape. It started off as like a player-made thing, and now it's like a really popular official game mode. So, ain't it Bill, if you're watching this, man, do it. So, if you've been looking for an excuse or a reason to get back into Guild Wars, or you've been playing it forever and you're burned out with things to do, I'm going to recommend you give this a shot, because it's really doing it for me, if you know what I mean. I'm going to be streaming some of my Iron Man playthrough, so feel free to check out my Twitch in the link below, watch what's going on there, and then once I wrap up my Guam video series on this channel, I'll probably start posting some like Iron Man progress videos so you guys can see what's going down. And if you do end up participating, feel free to share this video with other people so they can know like what's up and what's going on, and they don't think you're like a total idiot playing the game wrong or something. Also, if you guys have any questions or suggestions about the rules, feel free to let me know in the comments. This is still kind of a work in progress, and obviously since it's like a player-made thing, you can kind of tweak the rules or make little changes here or there for something that fits your play style. Yeah, this is kind of just like a framework or an outline. Feel free to take my advice or not at all. And also I want to say thank you to my guild mates S and Bendek and Silvermoon and Faith and Chiron for helping me come up with this idea, and you know, anyone watching my stream that also helped flesh this out. Thanks, this is gonna be sick. Anyways, hope to see you guys out there. I'll be keeping my eye out for iron characters and pre-searing. Feel free to hit me up. I'm playing a warrior. And if you want to join my guild and play with us, and we do other stuff in other games as well, I'll post links to that too, dude. Anyway, yeah, this is Doombucks. I'm going to sign out. I'm about to head out.